Do you have any idea how powerful the Bank for International Settlements is? That is the central banks for all central banks that partnered with Quant to build CBDCs across the world. Do you have any idea how powerful they are? I can promise you 99.999% of people in the planet have no clue how powerful this bank is. Again, it is the central banks for all of the central banks, which means whatever technology they use, all of central banks around the world technically have to use because they're connected to all the central banks. And they have what is called the Innovation Hub around the world where they're working on CBDCs across the world. And today I want to show you just how powerful they really are. There's a saying that says every war is a banker's war. For those who have gone deep down the rabbit hole, they know that saying because the banks finance each side of the conflict when countries go at war. And then the people, the average person, are the ones left with the bill. We pay for the debt with our taxes. They're that powerful. Today, I'm going to show you the truth about the BIS. I'm going to at least scrape the surface because if I show you everything, it'll take 10,000 hours. But I'm going to show you some things about the BIS that you probably had no idea about. They're, like I said, they're probably 100,000 times more powerful than you think. Then I'm going to show you all the projects that Quant Overledger is involved with the BIS. And I'm going to show you why the central banks around the world need a Quant Overledger to create CBDCs and all of that good stuff. I should add, I am absolutely not for CBDCs. I am not for them. There's a lot of people that think that, oh, CBDCs are not going to give governments more control than what they already have. We're already in a digital world. CBDCs is not going to change anything. I respectfully, strongly disagree. CBDCs, they bring programmable money, can inject logic into money, and they can program money. So if you don't obey, you don't do what they want you to do, they can just shut off your CBDC. They shut off your wallet. We're moving into a cashless society. That is the end goal. The goal was always CBDCs to create central bank digital currency and eliminate cash in society so that the banks, governments have total control. So it's a very long story, but if you look at the story of Bitcoin, they say it was created by Nakamoto in 2010. The white paper came out. It was this guy that wanted to get away from the central banks, get away from government. That's complete BS. That is absolute BS. You can do a Google search and look for David Schwartz Bitcoin patent. So David Schwartz Bitcoin patent. You'll find the Bitcoin patent that David Schwartz was awarded in 1989. It's literally the Bitcoin patent. He worked for a very powerful three-letter agency at the time, the most powerful three-letter agency in the world. Now he's the chief cryptographer at Ripple. He created the XRP ledger, and with a few other guys, he also created the interledger protocol that we are seeing in the unified ledger. We are seeing that the interledger protocol is connecting the unified ledger. And so let's get into it, guys. First, I'm going to show you just how powerful the BIS is, and then I'm going to show you the partnership, why Quant is crucial for CBDCs, and so on. Okay, so let's get into it here.
Billionaires control less than you think. The real power lies with secret societies operating in plain sight. Just look at the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland. This private bank controls every central bank on Earth, yet nobody knows who really owns it. They meet monthly in a circular tower discussing global finance behind closed doors. Last year alone, they moved $5 trillion between countries without any oversight. When I worked in finance, my boss would disappear for these meetings but never speak about them. Now I understand why. Membership requires absolute secrecy. Next time you see the BIS symbol on currency or financial documents, remember that a tiny group of unelected bankers silently shape our entire economic system. And this is just one society among dozens pulling strings from the shadows.
Now let's look at this video as well.
There's this guy, Klaus Schwab, one more time, and what are they really up to?
Yeah, so founded the WF, the World Economic Forum. And I think it's important to understand, too, like where we're at in the world, right? We're at this peak centralization, central planning. I like to say central planning always fails because they don't have enough data. You can't organize billions of people, right? But they're trying to. And so central planning, so it's World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, BIS.
What's the BIS?
So International Settlements.
Central bank.
The central bank of central banks, exactly. The World Economic Forum is one of them. The Club of Rome, they're the policy makers. And then they push it down to the next row in the org chart to the policy enforcers, which are the governments. And so the government a few levels down. So it's really a coup of the bankers. And they use this banker, the BIS at the top, push these ideas through the think tanks and then down to the policy enforcers. And then we're down at the bottom of the subjects of all that. And so Klaus is kind of running this. He's sitting on top of the world, hobnobbing with all these people, flying their private jets over to Davos, telling us that we need to cut back on our energy.
Now we're going to have to listen to this guy a bit. We're probably going to have to listen to him about in different sections of his videos here, maybe for 6-7 minutes, but it's the only way you're going to understand really how powerful this central bank is and what's really going on. Okay, so let me play that right here.
During World War II, you'd think that the BIS would not be allowing the German representative of the Reichsbank to be involved in the BIS, but you'd think wrong. So that what the BIS was during World War II was basically a bank where both sides were financed. And that's why people say that all wars are bankers' wars. And this is what this book proves. We're going to look at the Bank for International Settlements today. I even have a live stream for that topic. I'm going to put it up here so you can go through it. And I was happy to see Catherine Austin Fitts mention the Bank for International Settlements in her interview with Tucker Carlson. I think there's not enough publicity about the nefarious nature of this cartel. Of course, there's always talk about OPEC, that it's an oil cartel, that it's a nefarious institution and run by the Arabs and the Russians. But this one is the granddaddy of all cartels. It's been running since 1930. I spoke just over a month ago about this international banking cartel and the fact that, yes, the head of the snake is the BIS in Basel, Switzerland. So we're going to go through it again, and I'm going to talk about the origins of this bank and how it's evolved. I'm going to prove to you that central bankers who go there every other month for meetings, how they're betraying their own countries. Yes, betraying their own countries. It's a very bad situation, in my opinion, and very few politicians, very few commentators mention this bank, of course. That's probably because it's something you don't do, right? But there's none of that here on this channel. We're trying to expose this nefarious institution. You would think as well, that's the only thing they would focus on. The globalists, the people who run the world, and Catherine Austin Fitts, I think she was very careful to mention names. And yes, there are all the obvious names out there, like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and so on. But I agree with her. They could be just fronts for much more powerful entities, like she says, multi-generational entities. And I think she's right. They created this bank by international treaty. I've gone through the original founding statute of the Bank for International Settlements, and that's on their website. The major shareholders were the central banks of these major countries like Italy, France, Germany, Britain, Japan, Netherlands, Belgium, I think. And all these central banks at the time were actually private. So they're not even national entities. They were private entities run by bankers. He allowed the Germans to take basically the gold that the Czechoslovak government had with the Bank of England via the BIS. So that's the kind of entity it is. And what happened at the Bretton Woods conference is that the Norwegian delegation, knowing about all this, Norway was heavily affected by the war. Yes, it was invaded by the Nazis, by Germany, through Sweden. Sweden was supposed to be neutral, right? And that's another story. And the Wallenbergs, of course. But yes, and they realized, the Norwegians, that this bank was behind all the shenanigans during World War II, that we wouldn't have had a World War II if it wasn't for this bank. And they said we should close this bank down, rightfully.
Did you hear what he just said? He said we wouldn't have had World War II if it wasn't for this bank. I don't have the time to chase that rabbit hole, because if I do, you guys are going to think I'm all about conspiracy, because a lot of people think that certain things are conspiracy when they're actually not conspiracy. But anyways, like I said, notice how he said we never even would have had World War II if it wasn't for the BIS. Oh boy. I could go in that rabbit hole, like I said. I know what he means, but I'm not going to go there.
And they said we should close this bank down, rightfully. But guess who blocked it? It was the British delegation under the leadership of John Maynard Keynes, Lord Keynes, the guy who's given us this Keynesian economics, this fraudulent, nefarious economics where governments just keep borrowing and borrowing and lumbering it on the public. Some people might argue his theory was that a country had to keep a balanced budget, but I think he knew very well that once you go down this road, it leads to disaster. That's the BIS there. The other point that I want to make, of course, is that I said to you that any central banker, be it Jay Powell, Andrew Bailey, Lagarde, or the Japanese counterpart, whenever they travel there, every 2 months, they go for secret meetings 6 times a year. They travel under a diplomatic BIS passport. They're not traveling as Americans or French or English. They're traveling as a BISer. Maybe we could call them yesers, like bullshitters, right? That's how they're traveling there. So that's why I'm saying they're betraying. They're like traitors to the interest of their countries. So because the BIS is like a sovereign entity, Catherine Austin Fitts noted, that treaty made it sovereign. It answers to no sovereign power, the BIS. It can hide anything it wants. So that's why the central banks have their accounts with the BIS. That's where they manipulate the currency market, the gold market, probably even the silver market and other markets. No one knows about it. No one can call them. No one can say to the BIS, you have to come to Congress to testify. They're above the law. They are their own law. Of course, they have to respect criminal law in Switzerland, but that's something different.
Now, the other reason he says that the politicians and governments and presidents, when they go to the BIS, to these conferences, the reason he's saying that they are betraying their country is because these central banks are actually privately owned. These are private corporations, private entities. They're for profit. And I know that sounds insane, but if you look at the Federal Reserve, for example, in the US, there's nothing federal about it. It's a private entity. The only thing federal about the Federal Reserve is the name, federal. They gave it that name so that we would think it's federal, but there's nothing federal about it. You can watch a documentary called Monopoly Men. It's a very old documentary, but now there's plenty of documentaries explaining that. The Federal Reserve is actually created by 4 or 5 banking families. It's private. It's not federal at all. It's not the government. It literally prints money and lends it to the government and charges interest on that debt, on that loan. It prints money out of thin air. So now we're going to listen to one last part with this guy, and then I'm going to show you Quant Overledger and a bunch of other stuff.
It was low key. That's how they kept out of the limelight. The other thing they're doing now through the Financial Stability Board, which is basically the BIS, FSB, is that they become the regulators. They've been pushing the regulations for the world's banking institutions. They can't impose those regulations in a certain nation, but they're very influential and push the regulators in different countries to adopt these regulations like Basel III. But all it is, these regulations are not to make the banks safer and your money safer. It's just to keep the Ponzi scheme going. And it's amazing that national congresses or parliaments still accept this bank. And of course, the current prime minister now of Canada, he was a central banker. So he was a traitor to Canada and also a traitor to Britain because he was a central banker for the UK. He was the head of the Bank of England as well as the Bank of Canada. And what these central bankers do as well, and I recommend you go into John Titus's channel, Best Evidence, is that they wear different hats. Like, so as I said, when they travel to Basel, they travel as a BISer, not as an American or as a British citizen. People that work for them in London for the Bank of England, they second them to Basel and pay their salaries to work in Basel for how many years? I don't know, for 5, 6 years. So a lot of the employees of the BIS are just people taken from the central banks.
All right, so that gives you a general idea how powerful they are. Like I said, I could go in a deep rabbit hole. I can show you so much other stuff. This video is gonna get way too crazy. So now let's look at other stuff here. So now we're just gonna look at a small clip of Project Rosalind, which is a project that Quant worked with the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, the Bank of England, and the Bank of Canada. There's numerous commercial banks involved as well, and then you had the tech companies building solutions on top of CBDCs that were basically consumer-facing products. Excuse me. So the tech companies need to create solutions using Quant Overledger that are consumer facing so that there's actually use cases for this new type of money, which is central bank digital currencies, which is a sovereign currency on the blockchain. So these are national currencies, the US dollar, Canadian dollar, the euro, yen, all of them on blockchain. It's just a sovereign currency on the blockchain. So we're going to just give you a general idea of Project Rosalind. You'll see how Quant's technology was crucial here, and I'll explain a bit more, and then we'll see it. Then we're going to look at all of the projects that the BIS has with the Innovation Hub, BIS Innovation Hub, all of the CBDC projects they have. I have it on high speed here.
Project Rosalind's objectives were for the Bank of England and the Bank of International Settlement to understand what a CBDC means for banks, institutions, payment organizations, and fintechs in a real world setting. We created a new form of money, a digital escrow. We saw firsthand participants like the Central Bank of Canada, Amazon, Barclays, MasterCard use this innovative escrow technology to create new types of payments and flows.
What made Project Rosalind so successful was that it was very driven by end users. They engaged the API users and some big folks and some small folks early on and continuously throughout the project, and they still are doing. And that focus on what is it that end users want, why will they find it useful, is a massive contributor to project success, right? It means there's a reason for the project to happen, which is not the case with all blockchain projects.
Look at the bottom here. At the bottom here it says commercial banks, institutions, fintechs, and PIPs.
It was very iterative. Every week we were coming up with new requirements. Every week we were producing new demos, and we had strong participation from the Bank of England, from BIS, from everybody. The project was like an absolute dream. It was the best project we've worked on.
It was truly agile. We're receiving requirements, shipping a build, receiving feedback from users within a 2-week span. It's something that you don't get very often in projects or products, that you're getting user feedback within 2 weeks of getting the requirements. So that by itself was exhilarating.
See right here how it says Quant, the technological foundation of Project Rosalind. So it was the infrastructure. It was the foundation for Project Rosalind, which involved, like I said, the BIS, the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada, numerous commercial banks, and then all of the other tech companies and corporations building solutions on top of it that are consumer facing.
Quant's technology for Project Rosalind essentially provides the technological foundation of the entire project itself.
A big part of our contribution to that was Overledger, our technology, and that made everything much smoother and much faster. If we'd been building against a regular blockchain and integrating with it directly, we would never have been able to do it in 6 months.
The whole idea of Project Rosalind was to create a bunch of APIs that businesses and banks could use to interact with CBDCs. Those APIs actually talk to Overledger and interact with the blockchain via Overledger. We provide the technological foundation for interacting with blockchain.
So we provide the technological foundation for interacting with blockchains. Let me say it again. She said Quant provided the technological foundation for the world, technically, central banks, commercial banks, tech companies, to be able to communicate with blockchain. Quant is an operating system. It's an overlay. That's why it's called Overledger. It allows all of the legacy systems that exist today to connect to blockchain, which is crucial because they're not compatible with blockchain. That's the first reason Gilbert Verdian built Quant Overledger. The second reason is because you need to be able to use multiple blockchains at the same time. Quant's the only technology that allows the existing world to build on top of blockchain and use multiple blockchains at the same time, meaning they can pick the best features of each blockchain and build what's called an MDApp. So that is a multi-chain application. Let me repeat. They pick the best features of each blockchain that they like and they build an application with that. So the other cross-chain and other blockchain projects that you see, for example, I get a lot of questions about XLR, if I'm pronouncing that right. XLR is more for cross-chain. It's a great project, but it's more for cross-chain or multi-chain token. It's not the same as Quant. You can't build multi-chain applications with that. Pick the best features of each blockchain and build an application. And also, XLR is not for connecting the legacy systems that the banks use today, central banks, commercial bank, tech companies, all of the legacy systems that our world actually runs on today. It needs to be able to connect the blockchain. XLR, I'm having a hard time with that word, sorry. XL doesn't have that solution that Quant has. I'm not saying it's not a good project, it's just that Quant is taking it much, much further. But I believe there are really good use cases for XLR, and it is a great project, from my understanding. Not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor. I do not buy or sell crypto because of anything I say. This is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. And there's risk with everything. So that's why Quant is crucial here. I'm just going to show you Gilbert Verdian talking about BIS, Bank of England, Project Rosalind. Here, Gilbert Verdian says on the Quant website here, he says, we worked with our partner UST, a leading digital transformation company, on the project, with the Quant team providing the underlying infrastructure and blockchain platform, secure smart contracts, and interoperability of central bank ledgers and UST, building the front-end Rosalind API layer. Now, I want to show you something, because a lot of people think XRP is not needed because Quant can do this and that. No, you have to understand, every solution, and I've been having this debate with a few guys in the Quant Telegram channel, it's unbelievable. It's almost like some of the guys, not everybody, don't even realize that Quant doesn't do anything without blockchain. The reason that Gilbert Verdian built Quant in the first place is so that the world could tap into blockchain and use multiple blockchains at the same time, build multi-chain applications, MDApps, and so the legacy systems could connect too. Every solution that you have, every Quant product you see, it doesn't matter what they call it, whether it's Quant Flow, whether it's this, whether it's that. All of these products, these solutions use multiple blockchains. They're using blockchain. Whether you're talking tokenization, CBDCs, cross-border payments, it doesn't matter. Supply chain management, all of the solutions are using blockchain because that's what Quant is for. Just listen to this clip right here, please.
Census.
Let me just right here.
So if you think about it, what Microsoft did, if Microsoft in the 90s made Windows to be internet-based, that's what we're doing today. We've got our operating system on top of existing blockchains and future blockchains to create internet-based multi-chain apps where you can actually benefit from the different types of blockchain. It's DApp1 sits on blockchain A and does everything on blockchain A. DApp2 sits on blockchain 2 and does everything on blockchain 2. So you can't allow these applications to transfer data and transfer value very easily. It's a problem, and that's what we're solving. So with multi-chain apps, you can actually split your app up and you can say, I want my app to use a bit of Ripple for authentication. I want it to use a bit of Bitcoin for, let's just say, storage of data. And I want it to use Hyperledger because of scalability for resilience. You can actually have that choice with multi-chain applications. You have the flexibility. You have resilience. If I want to have multiple data sets, multiple applications across different chains, I've got resilience. And we give you that choice. Benefit is you can live on and run on multiple chains. You're never limited to a single technology. So if I have a problem with one blockchain just because of a security issue or a scalability issue, right now you're limited, you're stuck. But with having multi-chain applications, you can migrate. You're never limited to IBM. You're never limited to Ethereum. You can manage the cost, because if the fees go up, running an application might have cost you £1 million a year, and if the fees go up, it's going to cost you 100 million, as an example, and you can't afford that. And finally, what we're doing is creating something called treaty contracts with Hamburg University. This is the multi-chain version of smart contracts. So you can execute a smart contract on one chain and move it on to another and recognize it vice versa. So again, a unique innovation.
So it just blows my mind. Oh my goodness, I didn't know if I was going to go there, but I'll go there. What's happening in a few of the biggest quant Telegram groups, one of the guys that's the administrator for that group, so he controls the group, he has the administrator rights for Telegram groups, he's, I'm trying to say it politely, he's a bit special, let's just say it that way. If you don't agree with him, he will just literally insult you from head to toe, ban you. If you mention anything about XRP, he'll insult you from head to toe again. So a lot of people have been banned from that group, and for saying that, hey, XRP plays a role here. And so you say something about XRP, is like, stupid XRP army, blah, blah, blah. What do you need XRP for? Quant does it all. Like, Quant, he even said it. Gilbert Verdian himself said it. You can use a bit of XRP for this, a bit of Bitcoin for this. Maybe you want to use Avalanche for that. Maybe you want to use Hyperledger Fabric for this. The idea that the Quant solutions are not using blockchain almost, like, it's just complete insanity. XRP is not going anywhere. The information that the XRP community has about the XRP ledger, the unified ledger, the shared ledger, all of the thousands of hours of research that we have done on the XRP ledger, that is not being allowed in the group. Because right now what's happening is everybody's been blocked from that group almost. Some people still know what role XRP plays, but they're not saying anything because they know as soon as they say something, they're going to be blocked or insulted. For you guys in that group, you know exactly what I mean. Right now, the biggest Telegram groups for Quant are not learning what role the XRP ledger plays, because you just get one type of reasoning in that group. Everybody that doesn't agree with this guy in the group has been deleted or blocked, and everybody else doesn't dare to say anything because he's going to block and delete them. So this gives you a general idea why there's this misconception about the unified ledger, the shared ledger, the regulated liability network. I highly encourage you to listen to my video. I'm going to post it at the end here. It's called the XRP Unified Ledger. I'll post the video at the end of this video here. But anyways, I'll just stop right there. But I think that's really why people are not understanding what XRP's role plays here. All of the central bank, all of the CBDCs, the tokenized solutions, tokenizations, cross-border payments, instant settlement, supply chain management, all of these solutions that are being built with Quant Overledger are being done so using different blockchains. Quant doesn't do anything without blockchain. That's what blows my mind away. That's why Gilbert Verdian built Quant, so that people could use multiple blockchains at the same time. So again, every solution you're seeing built with Quant is using a blockchain. So if somebody comes and say, oh, I think they're using XRP for this, there's no reason to start hating and say, oh, you stupid idiot. No, I'm sorry. Like, you're wrong. Quant Overledger doesn't do anything without blockchains. It gets its power from connecting everything to blockchain. It's like a Microsoft Windows operating system. If you don't put it in your computer, you don't install it in your computer, the operating system's not going to do anything. You get all the benefits from the operating system when it's installed. Same for Quant Overledger. You get all the benefits from Quant Overledger when you connect it to all the different blockchains. That's where you see Quant Overledger's power, and that's where you see all its potential. The more blockchains you connect, and the more things you connect with it, the more powerful it gets, the more different use cases you can build with it. But if you don't connect it to anything, you can't build anything with it. It's like having Microsoft Windows in a box and just keeping it on your desktop, not even installing your computer. What are you going to do with it? You're not even going to be able to turn on your computer. It needs an operating system. Anyways, that's the end of the rant for now. So Quant is absolutely crucial for building CBDCs and multi-chain applications. Like I said, you cannot build on blockchain and get you cannot get adoption of blockchain without if you can't build multi-chain applications. That is, application that uses more than one blockchain at the same time. It's like having the internet but only having access to one website. The internet never would have flourished. We never would have got global adoption with the internet if you wouldn't have been able to use more than one website. I gave that example in another video. I said if you bought an internet package and you could only use one website for the next 2 years, and then after 2 years you could switch to another website, nobody would be using the internet. It wouldn't be what it is today. You have to be able to use all the blockchains at the same time for blockchain to be adopted globally. So these are all the projects that the BIS is working on. Like I said, Quant is absolutely crucial for the adoption of CBDCs all over the world. Like I said, I am against them, but we're going to have them. The central bankers want it. It's all part of the plan. So here there is 26, I think there's 25 different CBDC, different projects by the BIS. About 80% of them are central bank digital currency projects involving central bank tokenization, all things that would require quant. So right here, you see 21 items. These are ongoing projects. Central bank open market operations using tokenization and smart contracts. Project Meridian FX. Project Promesa, tokenization of promissory notes. Enhanced financial AI, then you have improving instant cross-border payments, central bank money settlement. Then you have Project Nexus, enabling instant cross-border payments. So when they say instant cross-border payments here, yes, they're using quant. But what blockchain are they using is what you have to ask yourself. Quant Overledger doesn't do cross-border. XLM does cross-border. XRP does cross-border payments, right? Quant on its own doesn't do it. And the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol is to move from one asset, the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol that Quant created with MIT, which is unbelievably big, it's to move an asset from one network to another. When they talk about cross-border here, they're talking about, generally what they talk about is when you want to swap. Look right here, it's saying FX component, right? This is when cross-border means when you want to exchange one asset to another. It's not the same as the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol. When you want to exchange an asset from one asset to another, if there's not a lot of liquidity between those pairs, you need a bridge asset. You need liquidity. The Secure Asset Transfer Protocol does not remove the need for a bridge asset when there is insufficient liquidity between the pairs. You have two internets being built right now. A lot of people are confusing the Internet of Value with the Internet of Trust. The Internet of Value is XRP, the XRP ledger, and XLM will play a role as well. Quant is the Internet of Trust. Gilbert Verdian has never said once we are the Internet of Value. He said we are the Internet of Trust. Quant Overledger connects the existing world, everything that exists, all the legacy systems, to blockchain. Blockchains represents trust. That's why Gilbert Verdian said we are the Internet of Trust. I can't find a clip where he said that. He said that. He's never said once we are the Internet of Value. Again, it's because Quant interconnects everything that exists to blockchain, and blockchains represents trust. So that's why he says we're the Internet of Trust. The XRP ledger is the Internet of Value, because the Internet of Value, the XRP ledger, allows you to convert any type of asset into any type of asset. XRP ledger and the XRP is a bridge asset. It provides global liquidity. It's a bridge asset to go from one tokenized asset to another. So that is the Internet of Value. This is very different than the Internet of Trust. Now, Quant is an overlay. Quant overlays the Internet of Value, which is XRP ledger primarily, and let's say XLM. It overlays those two blockchains and all of the other blockchains as well, so that you can build multi-chain applications. So here, like I said, there was 25 items that are ongoing with the BIS, and they have another 25 items that were concluded. So Project Enbridge was completed, monitoring the backing of stablecoins. Stablecoins are not being built on Quant without using blockchains. So you have to look at what blockchains that you can build stablecoins. XRP is the biggest one. You have XLM, and so on. These are 18 projects by the BIS involving CBDCs, DeFi, cross-border payments, tokenization, cross-border wholesale CBDCs, retail CBDCs. I can tell you that all of these projects, the majority of all these projects here, and the ones that are ongoing, require Quant Overledger. You need Quant Overledger. Quant Overledger is involved in probably about 80 to 90, if not 100% of all of these projects. And one project alone, if we look at Project Enbridge, that involved 7 central banks in the world. 7 central banks. And if you look at Project Rosalind, that involved 2 central banks, a few different commercial banks, phase 2. Now we're going into phase 3. So now it's going to involve even more commercial banks and even more tech companies. But that's just one project out of the 40-some projects I've shown you here. The BIS, like I said, it is the central banks for all of the central banks. The CBDCs are being built by the BIS across the world. Almost every nation has a central bank. The majority have. And then you have the use cases being built on top of it from commercial banks, tokenization, stablecoins, and everything, plus the different tech companies and different corporations bringing many different use cases so that it will create use cases for CBDCs. Quant is crucial in creating consumer-facing products, consumer-facing MDApps and solutions, so that the world can use CBDCs. Again, not a good thing, but for the people that are holding QNT Token, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but that could be a very good thing for people that are holding QNT. All right. Now, right here, this is a website for the Atlantic Council. This is a huge think tank. Atlantic Council, Geoeconomic Center. They are a think tank for the BIS. They're one of many think tanks. You see here on their website, they're tracking CBDCs. What is a central bank digital currency? So they're tracking it. You have 134 countries here. You have 3 that are launched. You have 44 pilots, which means that they're being piloted, means they're almost ready to go. You have 19 in development, 39 being researched, 21 inactive, 2 canceled, and 6 others. So all in all, between the 3 that are launched, the 44 pilots, the 19 in development, and the 39 then being researched, there's approximately 100 CBDCs right here that are being worked on, and I can assure you they are likely way further ahead than what they're telling us here. So this is the Atlantic Council CBDC Tracker. If you Google search Atlantic Council CBDC Tracker, you can find this. Again, this is one of the most powerful think tanks in the world. We'll look at key findings here. 134 countries and currency unions representing 98% of global GDP are exploring CBDCs. When they say exploring, forget that word. It means they're working on it. When they say maybe we could, it means they will, and they're doing it. They're always talking in theoretical language, as if, oh, maybe it could work, or maybe we're going to do it, we're just testing, we're looking to it. No. When they say, oh, maybe we could, it means we're doing it. If they say we're exploring, it means we're doing it. That's how they operate, these guys. You have to understand the deception here. It's just how it is. This is how they speak. They're never telling us. They're always 5-10 steps ahead of what they're telling us. You have to understand that if you want to understand really what's going on here. Every G20 country is exploring, again, working on CBDC, with 19 of them in advanced stages of CBDC exploration. We'll say advanced stages of CBDC launching. 3 countries have fully launched. There is a new 44 ongoing CBDC pilots. Again, they're probably including the digital euro. All original BRICS member states, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are piloting CBDCs. Isn't that interesting? The majority of these countries here are actually Ripple partners. I really encourage you to watch all my other videos, especially, oh my goodness, I don't even know which one to start. Oh boy. Yeah, I'll just let you scroll and watch whichever one you want, if you want to. All right, guys, that's all for me. Sorry it was a bit all over the map here. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you have a minute to like my video, that'd be great. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much, guys, for the support that you've been showing me. It's insane, the comments I'm getting. Really crazy. I didn't expect that. Thank you so much for the encouragement. Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe. Did I tell you to subscribe? Please subscribe. Did you subscribe yet? Please subscribe. I'm teasing you. All right. Thank you so much, guys, and wishing you a great day, and God bless you all. Stay safe. Bye.